So you've maybe been thinking about buying a Stream Deck from you know who, and you've not quite got the money for it. Well, this thing here might just be the answer for you. So stick around and we'll have a look at it. Right, on to the unboxing and we'll see what comes inside the packaging. So this is the Ampligame D6 from FIFINE. You can see that on the front of the box. And straight onto the inside and see what we have. Don't think there'll be much in this, to be honest. But right away we've got a little instruction booklet. And inside I imagine it will show you how to connect it up and the software you need to download, but we'll cover that later on in the video. But yeah, it's exactly that, just shows you all the basics. Underneath this nice foam packaging we have the Ampligame D6 itself, but we also have a cable here, which is I believe it should be a Type-C cable. Just open up and check that for you. So yeah, at one end we have a USB Type-C which connects into the Ampligame D6 controller. So on the other end here we've got a USB Type-A, but it's an adapter piece, and I always like to see that's attached so you don't lose it. But yeah, it's underneath that's a USB Type-C, but I always think that's a nice touch that you can't lose that little adapter. So onto the device itself, we've got some protective film here over the buttons. And you can see there the kind of nice shine we've got on those buttons. So we can see through to the little screens underneath. It's actually really nice looking, looks good quality. The shell's all made of plastic. We've got FIFINE logo at the top corner here. On the back we also have a button here, which I believe that's the button for the RGB, turns it on and controls it, and we've also got the USB Type-C connection as well. Some nice rubber feet as well to stop it from sliding about on your desk. And from the side here you can see the angle that will sit on your desk, not quite sure what the angle is. But the buttons feel nice. Feels as if I've got some nice quality to them. Obviously I don't have the Stream Deck, so I can't quite compare it to that, but they do feel nice. Also forgot to mention that the cable is 2 meters long, even though it says, I think it's about 2.5 meters long it says on their website, but I measured it and it is 2 meters long. So I'll just connect this up and get it powered up to see how it looks. Just plug USB-C into the back of it. And you can see right away how good those buttons look. They look excellent. I'd love to know what the resolution are. Very, very clear. Nice and clear. We've got that nice RGB as well going around the outside of it, which we can control, I should say, and I'll show you that later on. But it just looks a great little device for what you've paid for it, you know. Look at that. The resolution on that's excellent. And I think the actual screens are bigger, if I'm right, than the Stream Deck. You can let me know down in the comments below if that's true or not. But yeah, it looks absolutely fantastic. Looking forward to playing about with this and seeing what else it can do. Okay, now onto the software, and the first thing you're going to want to do is head over to FIFINE's website. You can either do that by just googling FIFINE D6, or you can click the link that I'll leave in the description down below. So once you get to this page, there's two places you can actually download the software from. If you just hover over the top here, you'll see software, and we're looking for the Stream Controller D6 software. Or you can also go all the way down to the bottom of this product page, and you will find a couple of download links here as well for Windows or for Mac OS. Now for this bit you'll need to bear with me. I'm still getting used to this and probably still have things to learn, but I'll show you what I can or what I've learned so far. So the first thing you want to do is, once you've got the software installed, I would suggest is going over here, and you can click up here and it'll take you to the FIFINE store, and you'll obviously see all the different products that FIFINE do, whether it's headsets, microphones, all the usual stuff. If you know the company, you know exactly what the guys over there do. But for us, we're going to be looking at plugins. So I've already installed a few plugins, and you'll see that by this box here saying unload. So anything else that I haven't installed will just be blue with the install button ready to go. But I've added a few things like weather query, system monitor, voice mod, if you want to play about with that, YouTube. There's another one here for OBS, even though there's one built in, but there's an OBS Studio plugin. You can have a look at that later. But you can see that there's loads and loads of different plugins you can use. I've got one for hardware info as well installed. RGB control. Now this one's a wee bit strange because it says it controls the lights of the D6 device, and I just couldn't get it to work, but I did install it anyway to give it a try. But maybe somebody out there knows what I'm doing wrong or why it's not working for me. But yeah, there's loads and loads to choose from, and you've got all the different categories down the side if you want to minimize these to smaller categories. But obviously through time this will get bigger, I'd imagine. And again, I'm not quite sure how this compares to Stream Deck, but I'd imagine those guys have probably got a few more. Next thing you want to look at is icons. Kind of disappointed with this, to be honest. There's not very many to choose from, but you can see that there's the 7 here that you can install, and I'll show you those soon. The ones that I did download, which was the neon grids and the blade. We'll get to that in a minute. And then tutorials, and it's great. There's tons and tons of tutorials in here as well if you want to have a look through those to get more familiar. But that's their website. So now on to the actual customization of the buttons themselves. So as you can see, I have 2 pages. You can actually increase that all the way up to 10 pages, which is pretty awesome. You've got loads and loads of space for as many buttons as you can imagine, but in my case I'm only using the 2, so we'll just delete all these spare ones and we'll just concentrate on the 2 just now. So first category is FIFINE Control Deck. So in here we can create a folder, and what you can include in that folder is a group of commands or buttons or functions, whatever, for a specific app or something like that. So for example, you could go in here and you could add all your OBS controls in here so that all comes under a folder. But I'm not going to do that in this case. And just delete that. We've also got scene shift. I'm not 100% sure what that does. That's something I'll need to look into a little bit further. We've got previous page. In fact, you can see the previous page I've already got on the screen here. And I've put them on both pages so I can just keep cycling through all the different pages. We've got go to page. So if you do happen to have quite a lot of pages, you can actually pick a specific page you can go to. Just a case of clicking this drop down and changing the page number you want to go to, which is handy. And then we've also got page indicator. So again, if you've got multiple pages, you might want to know exactly what page you're on, so we can add the page indicator. Brightness, I already have in my first screen. So you can see here that I've dropped the brightness in. There's an option from brighten or darken. So it should be similar to that, brighten or darken, and that actually controls the brightness of the lights behind your buttons. If you'd rather have that darker in a darker environment, just delete that as well. And then we've got device sleep, which basically turns the buttons off, and again I'm using that as well. So those are all kind of simple. Next one is toolbox. So here you can add a website. So perhaps you want buttons for Facebook, or you want buttons for YouTube or whatever like that. Again, you can give it a title, and then you can give it a URL. So if I go youtube.com, you can see what happened there. As long as I've done that, it's changed over this icon, and that's what I was talking about earlier on, about the icons being a little bit kind of crappy looking. By far, YouTube is the worst one out of them all. It's very, very pixelated, so you will definitely want to go and download your own one. And again, you can put the text on it if you want, if I can spell. So yeah, you can see the word in there, but it's not very good looking, that one. So definitely go and get an icon for that if you want that. So we'll delete that. So that's the website. Hotkey is pretty explanatory or self-explanatory. You can just click any keyboard input you want to this as well, if that's your kind of thing. I don't know why you would ever want to use that, to be honest with you. You would just use the actual keyboard, seeing that that's right in front of you. Hotkey switch is just the same kind of thing. It kind of toggles in between 2 hotkeys. We've got a mouse event. Again, you can go in and you can assign mouse buttons to one of these buttons too. Again, I don't know why you would use it, but I suppose it's handy that it's there. I'm sure somebody will find a reason for that. Open is, again, I think that's pretty obvious what it is. You can open apps or files. And it's a little bit strange because we've got two here. I'll show you the other one, but I think this is maybe for things that don't appear on a list, and the list is exactly what I'm going to talk about in a minute here. So when you go to this one for open an app, you drop that in there and you can see all the different apps that the system recognises that I've got installed, whether it's games, and that's, to me, that's the one you're more likely going to use. It's this for is games. So that's quite clean. I quite like the look of the icons that's coming in for them. I'm not sure where that pulls those icons from, but yeah. So you can do that. You can open apps. Here is a close button. So for whatever application you're in, you can just hit the big close button at the top right, which is quite handy as well. Maybe something, again, I'm not sure when you would use that. Maybe if something's not got the actual box up the top corner, and this would still allow you to close it, so that's good. What else is here? Text. Now that's probably something that would be handy for guys who are doing live streams or whatever. You can just have all sorts of different text scripts wrote up, and then you can just press one button and it puts it into the chat for you. That would be handy. Password, probably for your safe passwords if you've got websites or whatever, or applications that have got passwords on it. You can have multiple passwords saved and just press a button to populate the passwords. Multimedia, yeah, I'm just expecting to see what's on the screen there. Play, pause, next, stop, mute, volume, and so on. So all pretty basic controls in the toolbox. Audio player, it's kind of similar to the media controls a minute ago. Play audio and stop audio. Custom, now custom is one that I've downloaded. That's a plugin for hardware info. Now if you go over to hardware info, drag that in, you'll see that it's not running. So I'll just open that up if you bear with me. So that's my hardware info just about to start up any minute now. Sorry about this. It's taking a bit of time. So that's my hardware info now popped up on the screen. Now this should be running. Oh, there you go, I had to click it again, so it's kicked in. Again, you can give it a title for whatever kind of sensor you're wanting to show. But there's actually other things here we can do the same thing for, but hardware info is obviously jam-packed full of different sensors. You can see all the multiple sensors there. You can go to my processor and then choose what reading you're wanting to see. There's tons and tons of different sensors in there. And just to show you, let's see, effective clock. So you can see the clock speeds and stuff like that. So again, handy little thing if you want to use that. So that's hardware info. Operation flow. Now I've not used this, but I believe it's almost like a script thing. So if you're maybe a live streamer and you do game live streams, you can actually set this up to be like a script. So you can have it to start up, just for talk's sake, Call of Duty, to turn all the lights off in your room, to start OBS and to start recording, to open up Discord. It's like multiple commands you can put in there. And again, if you go in here, you can add items, and it's a case of dragging in everything you want it to do, and it creates a little script for you. So that's a handy thing to have as well. Now for OBS, there's actually something you need to do up front before OBS will actually work for you. So if I just drag in my OBS screen, up the top here where it says tools, you need to click on that and then go to web server settings. You need to tick this little box up the top here that says enable WebSocket server. And then we'll take a note of these. We've got a server port 4455, and then we'll have a password as well. Enable authentication if you want to use a password, or you untick that if you don't want to use a password. Then just hit apply, and then if we go back to the FIFINE software, if you were to drag the record button over, it would normally say down the bottom that it's not connected. So you then need to basically fill in that information for the server IP, server port. In fact, the server IP will be default. You don't need to change that, but you need the server port and you need the password that the software generates, or you leave that blank if you're not using that password. But just, make sure you've got all that set up before you actually try to use OBS. So back to the OBS buttons, we've obviously got record. We've got stream to start and stop your streaming. You've got scene. If you've got scene, it's quite good. It actually recognises the scenes you've got set up in your OBS. So for me, I've got 4. Second monitor, I've got my ultra wide monitor, and then I've got face cam, and I've also just done a new one which is an overhead camera, which is scene 2. So it's quite good. You can set up individual buttons for each of these scenes. That's handy. And then you've got other things like source visibility, so you could probably turn on and off various cameras, audio mixer, studio mode, so on. So you can see all the things there. Screenshot would be a handy one to have. Transition, if you're doing live streaming, you'd probably want to press transitioning, going between face cams and game. So loads of stuff in there for OBS. Discord, it's pretty simple. Got the kind of typical buttons you'd want to use for Discord. It's not something I really use, to be honest. Streamlabs, again, I've not really looked about that too much, and I'm not sure if it's something I would use, but all the functions are there for Streamlabs. We've got weather query, that was one of the plugins that I downloaded. So again, you can drop a weather query in, you put in your city, it will come up with a list of matches to whatever city you put in, and then you can show in degrees. So just for talk's sake, we'll go for Glasgow. And it's automatically picked up Glasgow, but there's loads and loads of them. I would just go for the top one, and you can see on the screen there, it's showing you what the weather is, what the outside temperature is, and you can change it from Celsius or Fahrenheit. So that's quite a good one to have as well. System performance monitors, quite similar to hardware info. You can drag in CPU usage, and you'll get a little percentage of your CPU usage there. What else have we got that could be handy? GPU temperature, if you want to keep an eye on your graphics card temperature. Mine is currently 47 degrees. So another little handy thing for system performance monitor. Time options, if you want world times, that's actually quite a handy thing to have. If you are a streamer, you might want to keep an eye on the time in the area where most of your viewers are from. You could perhaps be in America or somewhere else, and you want to keep an eye on the time zone over there, so that's quite a handy thing to do. So obviously at the moment it's just the current system time for me, but you can change it to whatever region you want it to be, so that's good as well. Voice mode, again, you need to start up voice mode similar to hardware info, so I'll just do that. But if you didn't, if you dragged it in, you'd get an error down here saying connection failed, so I will just start up voice mode. If you bear with me. So that's my voice mode opened up. I don't have the Pro one, so I'll just shut that down. You can now see it's successful. The connection is successful and it's now running, and then you can go in and change the voice modes. And again, probably a very handy thing if you're a live streamer. You don't want to play around with that. And we've got buttons here for YouTube, for your chat buttons, audience buttons, so on. Play ads again if you're live streaming. Start and stop your live stream button, and open your console. So kind of basic YouTube stuff there. OBS Studio Stream Deck. Now I don't know what's the difference between that and the OBS Studio one up here, but it does appear to have more options and more functions in there, so you might want to use this one. Yeah, it does have more options, so that's perhaps your best bet rather than this one up here, but you can have a look at that. And RGB control. Now I said earlier on, I downloaded this thinking that I could control the RGB on the actual device itself, and for some reason it doesn't work. So if it does work for somebody out there, you can perhaps tell me in the comments below. But that's as much as I can kind of cover just now. Like I say, I've probably missed loads, but hopefully that's okay. The last thing I'll show you is just a quick run through of all the RGB effects. So we've got solid colours here. You've got a dark blue, pink, rainbow colour, going all the way around. Then we've got a slowly fading between all the colours. A breathing effect that'll go between the colours as well. You've got a kind of visor one, looks a little bit like Kit from Knight Rider, and that will change colour as it goes around, I believe. Yep, it does. You've got another one that just goes all the way around and changes colour. Similar again, but in a different direction. Same again, but slightly slower. And I think this one, oh, it just goes backwards and forwards, changes direction. Solid red, orange, yellow, green, back to blue. If you want to turn it off, you just hold the button down for 2 seconds, or back on, hold it down again for 2 seconds, and that's it. So the chances are I've only probably just scratched the surface with what this little piece of kit can do, but it's a great start from the guys over at FIFINE. Obviously the Elgato Stream Deck, shouldn't really be saying that, sorry, has been out for a bit longer, and it probably has more functions and more plugins, I should say, that you can use to control all sorts of other features in your house or whatever, lighting, you name it. But I think it's a brilliant start by FIFINE. Still plenty of time to improve this, the software, the plugins and stuff like that, so I'm really looking forward to seeing where this goes. I'm going to enjoy using it. It's been something that I've been dying to have for a while now, and already I'm finding the benefit of having it on a desk. It's just so easy having some of these buttons just at hand, quickly to press things and away you go. So I'm sure through time I'll find more things that suits me. But that's it. I hope you liked this. I'll leave a link for this down below. I should point out, I think at the moment it's £78, but see if you keep an eye on it, you might actually get it cheaper. I got it for £67 with a voucher off it, so much cheaper than the Stream Deck. But fantastic bit of kit, looking forward to using it. If you've got any questions, please leave them down below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And as always, I'll see you guys soon. See you later.